Good morning, Tuesday morning, 8 o'clock. Another beautiful day here in Southern California. Welcome to Money, Truth, and Moments. I am your host, Carlos Garcia, with our very own Judy Copenbarger. How you doing, Judy?
I am awesome. Happy Tuesday. I'm so happy to be here.
We're happy to have you. We're happy to continue in our series of planning personal and family finances, which has gotten a lot of great feedback. People are really enjoying the topics that we're discussing because, hey, at the end of the day, it hits home, right? We all have to go through it, but we all need some guidance and direction with it as well, too.
That's right.
So with that said, I want to jump right in because I don't want to run out of time on some of the great stuff that we have going. Folks, if you're just joining us, please share out our stream. If you're not following Judy, please follow her at judycopenbarger.com. That is her website. There is a wealth of resources, including links to her social media. This lady's everywhere. So she is spreading the good word, her wisdom. So you have to follow her. And we'll talk a little bit more about her resources a little bit later in the show. But with that said, let's jump right into it.
All right, let's go. I'm ready.
All right. So following what we discussed last week, creating plans, one of the questions that has come up, or I've asked folks, is, are you stuck financially with no plan? We depending on, no matter where you are in your life, you may have a plan, you may not, and sometimes we feel like we're just completely stuck, right? So how do we even begin to address that?
Yeah, well, the first thing is just recognizing that, peeling away any shame around that, any guilt around that, any regrets, or upset around, man, I should be farther along right now. I shouldn't have made that financial mistake. The first thing is just acknowledging where you are and being ready to do something different. So then it's just a matter of getting strategic about it. Thinking of what your goals are, what the outcome is that you have in mind, where do you want to end up? And then you just draw the dots from where you are to where you want to be. So it's just about aligning your values with your most important goals. I think if you do it with all the pillars of finance, there are 5 pillars. There's the protective parts like legal and insurance. There's the growth part like your investments, your 401k and your IRA, your cash reserves and things like that. And there's taxation. So just getting a handle on those 5 pillars and just deciding exactly where you want to be in a year or 2 or 5 or 20, and then strategically moving in that direction. Just do something. But the first thing, you got to start with acknowledging where you are. Put the dot on the page, the dot right where I am here, you are here on those maps and directories. And this is where I am. And then just get a direction and then just start going.
So does it really matter what stage in our lives are? Is there a better way to start this, maybe at age 14, or does it really matter if I'm 21, 30, 60? Unfortunately, even if you're getting into the higher age group in the senior community, sometimes life hasn't been all that great, and all of a sudden they realize, hey, you know what, I need help, right? Does it really matter at what age we're at?
That's a great question, and I would say no for many different reasons. There's that famous Asian quote about when's the best time to plant a tree 20 years ago. When's the next best time? Today. And that's so true with any area of life that we want to develop or do more, better, different, anything that we want to change for the better. I'm kind of coming from the financial world and there's so many areas of that, but it's just doing something better. Stop doing what doesn't work, start doing what does work. And you can start today, every day. Well, I would challenge you to find a day where you didn't think about money or make a decision or a choice about money, pay a bill, check your bank account, pay your insurance premium, go to the grocery store, buy a stamp. Almost every day there's money either coming in or going out. It's hard to find a day that we're not doing something with cash flow or with a financial decision. And so it's important to really be strategic about that. Obviously, if we can start when we're 4 or 5, and have great modeling, and our parents teach us about budgeting and saving our piggy bank money. You mentioned the age 14. I believe your son is 14. That's right. A great age to start thinking about investments and future planning and allocating money when it comes in. Do we spend it all right now? Do we save it all for later, or somewhere in between? And it's different at every house. If you're 21 or you're just out of college and you're just starting, what a great time to think about allocating the income that is now coming in. Because if you've been in college, chances are a little bit came through or maybe no money came through. It was just study time. And so maybe part-time job or something for most people. But now you're out there in the workforce and all of a sudden money shows up. What do you do with it? How do you grow it? How do you protect it? How do you spend it well?
Right.
But also, I'll tell you, people that I work with are in their 50s, in their 60s, in their 70s. A sweet couple, I may have mentioned their story on this this telecast before, in their 70s. And every single meeting, they remind me how grateful they are that for the first time in their lives, a few years ago when we started working together, they figured out how to spend their money. They never had a handle on it. And now it's a joy to handle their money and handle their expenses. And they don't have to cover it up and have all that shame anymore. So it's never too early and it's never too late to do better, because life is a moving, breathing journey, right? It's a moving, breathing template, a moving, breathing map. And so we can always do better because we're always, on that journey.
Awesome. And, and it's true. I mean, you talk about money, folks always think that money is just, if you have a lot of it, you're always going to be happy and all that. But they always forget that there's also this big burden that comes with having money too, as well, right? Obviously having the right person guiding you and how to really manage that, especially if you don't know, and I'm glad that you're sharing some of this wisdom with our viewers as well too. But let's also talk about how can we leverage excellent personal and family financial planning. I mean, that's another one that ties into this. And talk to us a little bit about that system to grow, right? In that.
Yeah, well, it's just having a system for anything that works. You have a system for keeping your drawers organized in the kitchen, which forks go here and the spoon goes there, right? It's your closet. You have your shirts over there and your dresses over there, if you have dresses. You have your shoes, go in a general spot. It's just having some order. And some people have never had that modeled for them or taught to them to have order in the area of finance in their life. So why not have systems? There's systems for growing your money. There are systems for protecting your money and systems for even giving away your money, not only your expenses, but that generosity piece. And that's one that I love when people get that, because something magical shows up. I believe it's biblical too, but something shows up when you are able to not white knuckle every nickel, and you share with other people, and that spirit of generosity comes out. Some people give, some people tithe. There's all these different ways of money leaving your household, for the better good. I had a client in San Jose, a single gal, that when I met her years ago, she was just kind of a mess, physically a mess. She was depressed. She couldn't keep a job. She was looking for something part-time to just get her to retirement, over the line. Mm-hmm. And so I had a chat with her about all of life, not just the money truths, but all of her life. And we talked about finances. And I said, well, where's the generosity in your life? Are you giving? And she said, I barely can afford groceries. And I said, well, just try it, just a little bit, what you think you can do, even if it's sacrificial. Give something, help somebody, do something financially. And her story her whole life in that next few years working together, she was able to give more and more and more. And she had probably 20, 30,000 when we met, and retired with millions and property. I mean, it was amazing, the miracles that happened in her life. And I can't help but believe a lot of it was because her mindset, she put generosity in. And I love that. So it's about growing, protecting, but also giving.
That's a great story. I know that there's a lot of folks who are in that situation, right? And I think it's also very important to let folks know that, because let's face it, finances is very scary. It's a scary word for a lot of folks, right? A lot of people don't know, they weren't raised properly. They don't know which direction to go. They have zero clue on investments. It's always about guarding the little bit that you have. And if you're going to put it out there to try to gamble and somebody's not giving you the right advice, it's always very scary for a lot of folks. And I think that's where they kind of go back under their little rock, and it's like, no, I've got my money. It's under my mattress, whatever it is that they're doing. But they don't have somebody like you who can actually give it to them straight, right? There's no there's no games in this. And I want folks to also realize that we've been talking about this for months now. And it's, not every financial planner, not every financial person is created equal, right? And we're going to get to that a little bit later as well, too, to talk a little bit more about Judy and what she's done throughout the course of her career as well, too. But folks, thank you for joining us this morning. If you're just joining us, thanks for being here. Make sure you watch also the beginning of the broadcast. If you're not following Judy, follow her at judycopenbarger.com. She's got her social media links on there. There's a wealth of videos on there that we're going to talk about resources more towards the end of the show. But I want to keep moving on, Judy. So let's say I've taken your courses, I read your books, I have this weekly wisdom sessions with you and all of that. So one thing that comes to mind is, what's the first thing that I should do after learning how to spend money? Or maybe several things.
Yeah. Well, once you learn how to spend money, how to have the cash flows, how to have the money come in and go out and get a handle on that, which it's not intuitive. Maybe you had it modeled, and it's amazing. You said, some people didn't have the gift of being raised properly. And I just wanted to take issue a little bit with that. I'm sure most people were raised beautifully. And I think what you meant to say is maybe they didn't get in-depth teaching about finances and how to handle cash flow and things like that. It doesn't mean what they're doing is not proper. It might not be optimized. It might not be the most efficient way to achieve their goals. So I just wanted to kind of bring that up.
Thank you for clarifying that. Yeah.
Yeah, you could be raised beautifully, but it's just, we learn a lot from our parents by watching, by observing, by, their modeling. And we end up doing a lot more about what our parents did than what they said. And I learned that when I was a parent. We raised 5 kids, and what I did was a whole lot more important to them than what I said. So we did a lot of forgiveness, and we did a lot of I'm sorry, and I could have done that better for you. I could have taught you better, but it's never too late. Like we were talking earlier, what's the right age? It's never too late, and you're here. You're here. So now we can put some of this wisdom into practice and these strategies into practice. So you asked, what's next after we learned how to spend money? Then it's about, what do we do with the money that's here and the money that's to come? And you always want to think just in general terms about the timing of cash and cash flows and cash reserves. So just imagine there's now, soon, and later. Money for now is your expenses, your ongoing monthly budget, what we're going to do Friday night about pizza delivery, things like that. That's now. Soon is going to be your short-term goals. That's going to be your 3, 4, 5, 6-year time increment from now. Maybe you need to replace a car. Maybe you're going to be buying a home or moving into an apartment in the next few years. Maybe you have a trip planned for some special occasion, or maybe it's a wedding, right? Something is coming up in your near future, 3, 4, 5, 6 years from now, that you want to plan for. So that's your goal bucket. That's soon. And then later is long term. So maybe it's a house down the road, or maybe it's a second home, vacation home down, in my 50s, it'd be nice to have a beach house or a mountain home, cabin somewhere. Or it could be retirement. So at some point there might be a place in time in your life where you say, I don't want to go out and earn the money anymore. I want the money to show up because I had money that now is out doing the work. Like Mr. Money's gone to work. I don't have to go to work. And a lot of people, they call that retirement, which I would say if you're going to use that word, put a dash in it, tire. That's like put on another set of tires, keep going, right? Because we're not supposed to just be in a rocking chair in our later. That's when we have all the wisdom. That's when we're a veteran at life, and we should be sharing with young people everything that we've learned and everything that we had from hard knocks, all those wisdom moments. We want to share those. So retirement, if we're going to do it, it's that. But long story short, money for now, money for soon, and money for later. That's the goal. After you spend money well, that's the goal for the allocations.
It's funny though, because as we grow and we start getting our first job, we start earning our first paycheck. Before it was like, Mom, can I have this? Dad, can I have this? And you never really, although you knew the value of a dollar, you really didn't, because it wasn't your money, right? Until you have to spend your own money, then you're like, well, do I really need this, or do I really want this? And I think that's part of maturity, obviously, or whatever. But it's also nice to have that guide, that financial wisdom or financial planning that, it's going to take us to the next steps, as you're discussing too. So I've also heard that someday when I'm at the place where I need to be financially, I hope to give money generously. I've heard you talk about that a little earlier. Let's talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah. Well, it's never too soon and it's never too late to live generously. And it's not just, volunteering for, reading books to little kids, teaching them how to read, or being out on the soccer field or the baseball field with the little leaguers, being a coach, teaching a Sunday school class, helping the neighbor kids, take walks on Saturday at the park, whatever. So it's not just your time and giving of yourself, which I think is important, and it makes life rich and full. The happiest people I know are givers. They give their time and they dedicate who they are and what they've learned to other people. I think that's so important. But when it comes to the finances, I think it's also important to be generous, because money really is just a tool for life. It just funds the things that we want to do in life. So I think even if you're in that place, like my friend up in San Jose years ago, even if you're in that place where you're like, oh, I just can't, I have so little, I can't. You can find something. You can find a few cents. You can find a few dollars. You can find something. So maybe just start small, but have the mindset of generosity. There's something magical that happens when you kind of let go of the money, it fills up again, and you let go and it fills up again. And it is amazing to watch transformation in many lives, thousands of lives that I've helped now get that concept and that mindset. So start now, do something, start small, do anything, be consistent, make it a lifestyle, and make it like if you're doing a budget or for the first time creating a budget, make it one of your expenses. I give for housing, I give for gas, I give for food, I give for electric bill, I give for generosity. And just make it one of your line items every month that you just do regularly and see what happens. I'm excited to hear from people what happens when they start doing that.
That's a great suggestion. And folks, actually, if you do would like to share with that, please put it on the chat for us. We'd like to address that at some point too as well. Also, if you have any questions or any of the shows, please put it on the chat. We will have a once a month show where we actually answer audience questions for Q&A. So make sure that you put down your thoughts, your suggestions, or questions that you're experiencing on all that. So I'm gonna ask you one more question on this because it does follow what we've been talking about regarding some of these, the money, regarding some of the saving, the planning. So what happens to folks that just say, can I just save money instead of doing the whole financial family planning thing?
Well, just save money for what is what I would ask. What's it for? You just want to save a big pile of money so you die with it? So there's this thing in life, in finances, that is kind of some balance. I would call it like, striking a balance. So some people are taught save, 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 save. Don't spend, don't spend. You don't need that. You don't need that. That's not a need. That's a wish. It's a want, right? So save, save, save. Well, that's not living life. And I've helped people kind of unlock that. It's kind of a pivot that people make at retirement time, retirement time, where, all of our life we're saving, we're contributing at work, we're contributing to our retirement programs, and we're putting money in and raising our kids and doing all that, building our business. And then all of a sudden it's time to reverse, right? So now the water is flowing up the river, not down the river. Right. And now the flow is coming out, and it's a little panicky for people. I mean, there's a whole mindset around that. It was always going in. Now I'm doing it the other way. What if I run out? What if that's where the planning comes in. It's like, okay, I have the confidence to know I have plenty. So that's powerful. And if you're working with an advisor, that's something they can powerfully help you have, that strategy where you know where all the dollars are going, and when you need them, where they're going to be coming from. Because it's not going to be you going to get another job in your 70s or 80s, probably. We hope not, right? And we don't want you eating cat food either. We want you to just live a life because you planned that way.
Right.
So did I answer your question?
You did. And I actually brought up that question for the fact too that we talked a little bit about. I'm going to give you an example for my upbringing too. Was my dad was always about save, 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 save. Right. He didn't know any better. He didn't know really how to get into the investments. In some of the actual financial planning, he was taught by his dad and so forth and so forth. So times change, and I look back, growing up and just thinking, if we had that vision, or my dad had that vision of talking to a good financial planner, things would have been a little bit different. Mind you, we had everything we needed on there, but for him, it was always about that, a penny earned, it's a penny saved. You got $2, save one, you can spend one. It was that mentality. But I also saw that because of that lack of knowledge and a little bit of fear, I also realized that they missed out on a lot of things that they could have done for themselves to enjoy, when they're retired, to enjoy their money in a better situation. That's what I want folks to understand, which brings me also to the point of talking about the JudyCopenbarger.com. I want to make sure that folks are aware that there is a wealth of resources. There's a wealth of videos. Congratulations on your book. I know that Money, Truth, and Life has been #1 on several platforms, and it's a fantastic book. So I want to make sure that you talk a little bit about the book, and also let's share with folks too about your online mastery program, because this is also, again, another resource that if you don't know where to start by either reading a book or by going on to the online mastery program. So if you could please talk a little bit about that.
Oh, yeah. And you were talking about your experience of saving. There's nothing wrong with saving, but maybe there wasn't balance where they were enjoying life too and doing things. But then there's the other end of the spectrum where people spend, and they forget the saving part. So it's just finding the right balance based on the goals and the future that you want to create for yourselves. But all of that, all of the strategies of all of those areas of finance are indeed in the Money, Truth, and Life book. And right now you can get it. If you're a Kindle person, you can get it for $1. I think it's even less than $1 on Amazon. You can go there and get the digital version. It's like real books that are, they have paper and you crack them open. It's so exciting. I love new books and I love paper books still. You can do that as well. Amazon has it. Target has it. Books A Million has it. Barnes and Noble is everywhere that books are sold. You can get that. I think it's $20, something like that. So that is a great first start. If this is something you want to get a handle on, whether you're 14 or 75 or anywhere in between, it's something that'll really help you. And the other thing besides the book is the online mastery program. It's called Money, Truth, and Life Online Mastery Program. And I designed this for people that want to learn through video. They want to have a coach. They want to have a teacher. They want to have that financial mentor that maybe their parents weren't, or maybe they've learned the wrong things to do throughout their life just by default, and they really want to get it right and be efficient now. It's only for people, however, that want to pay less tax, less fees, and grow more wealth. So if you're not in those categories, it's not the place for you, because that's what we do. And we teach very specific strategies, very specific primer level definitions of everything. So you can determine what you need to do, because you can now distinguish all the different things and all the language and all the vocabulary out there associated with personal and small business finance. So it's all right there for you. Right now, you can watch any class you want. There's all kinds of classes and courses by the 5 pillars of finance. They're organized that way. And you can go on there and watch some classes for free right now without having to subscribe or pay for them. So if there's one area of finance you really have been wanting to get a handle on, I recommend you go and do that, like right now, today, and watch a couple tonight and see what you think. I think you'll find a lot of value and a lot of peace that comes from just really knowing the difference. The worst case is you will now know the questions to ask, where before you didn't even know there was an issue.
Right. And actually, I want to go back to our question of someday I hope to give money generously, right? Mm-hmm. In this case, though, it's your wisdom that you give generously. And I think I want to talk just briefly about also all the work you've done throughout your career, throughout the years. It's always been about your legacy, right? I mean, you don't have to be doing this, but the fact that you are doing, you're willing to be generous with your wisdom and really help people get out of that financial funk, right? It's very commendable. So I want you to talk a little bit about why you did the book, why you have the online mastery program, and share about your legacy with this.
Yeah, my big why is legacy. Over 40 years of working with families and churches and business owners and people that really want to get money right, whether it's stewardship or just really good management, just good financial management, I've learned some concepts and ways to communicate them that really help people. It's like for the first time, oh, now I understand. I got my statement and I didn't lose money. I didn't lose money at all because I understand the Tuesday tuna story. Or, I always wondered why I was doing all these protective things, always protecting my wealth, like saving money, save, save, save. But I never remembered to grow. I didn't know what to do. And I didn't even know there was a difference between growth and protection activities in finances. That's the greenhouse story. And so that's a story that helps people go, okay, is this a growth thing or a protection thing? Is this a garden thing or a greenhouse thing? It just really helps people. All the stories and ways to communicate that I figured out, visuals that help people go, oh, now I can see where I am on the map. All of that is in the online mastery course. All of that is in the book, as much as I could fit in the book. I didn't want it to be a 500-page read, but it's an easy read. It's quick. It's simple. It's a great resource to keep on the shelf, on the nightstand, or on your shelf in your office, where you go, okay, I'm ready to do some finances. I'm working on my taxes. I'm getting ready to refinance my home or something like that. It's a great resource to go to and go, okay, that's it. And another one that we haven't talked about, there are so many videos that I've created that are on YouTube. So I've got a YouTube channel. Those are all free, and you don't even have to watch the ads. We don't have the ads on there. And you can go learn about, if I'm going to do a refi, what do I look for? Should I use a bank or a credit union? Should I be leasing or purchasing a car? How does interest really work? What's APR? All of these things that you kind of hear the buzz, or you might get advice, probably not good advice, but you'll get advice from the people, from they, right? And this is just a place to get the money truth. Like, how does it really work? What do I really need to know to make a really good educated decision for me at my house with my family?
Awesome. And folks, I know we definitely have had a jam-packed show. We thank you guys for joining us. If you're just tuning in, please make sure you watch the beginning of the show for a lot of the great content that we've discussed today. But now, without further ado, it's our favorite time of the show. All right, love this. All right, it's time for challenge. So I want to remind folks, and correct me if I'm wrong, but last week you gave us a challenge about reconnecting with relationships. Depending where we are in our age group, maybe our during our teens or younger age, middle, and a little bit later on in life. So if I may share really quick, I actually got to reconnect. This was with he was my best friend back in junior high. Right? I haven't talked to this guy in years. And for the most part, I will tell you that a lot of my junior high friends, we've stayed in contact. And it's funny because when we talk, we just pick up right where we left off, like we never left school. With him, it was a little bit different. It was actually, believe it or not, it was a little bit awkward, to say the least, because what you normally think you're going to pick up right where you left off, just normally. You also learn to realize that people have grown, people have different lives now, perspectives have changed and all that. So it was good. I'm glad that he's doing very well and all of that. So it was interesting going down that memory lane. The funny thing is that I think it was last week too, I had one of my former bosses, I haven't spoken to him probably about 8 years, send me a birthday wish. And she's been on my mind just out of the blue. It came out, I'm like, hey, it's like, how you doing, where you're at, and so forth. So I'm glad you did this challenge because it did help me connect or reconnect with folks that I haven't seen or heard from in quite a while. So I wanted to share that real quick.
Yeah, I had a fun one too. The first day of kindergarten, I met my friend. In the old days, we played with sticks and rocks, and our equipment, we had a swing set at school, and we had sewer pipes. Remember the big concrete sewer pipes that we played on? Yeah. Well, I helped her first day of school. I helped her up onto the sewer pipe. I was on it, and she couldn't get up, and I was helping her up. And we became friends and lifelong friends. So that's been a few years. That's been over 50 years now. And they live in a different part of the state, far, far away. And so we reconnected, and they're actually coming next weekend for Valentine's weekend. We're going to get together. And now we've got kids and they've got grandkids, and it's just like, I don't know where life went. But it's the same, like you said, we always just pick up where we left off. And it's just like my sister, from another mother. How does that go? This mother from another mother. Yeah. And it's just wonderful. So I had a great time too. Here's your challenge for this week. Here's a challenge. Let's take a challenge from the conversation we had about after you figure out how to spend your money, what do you do next? Allocation, right? Now, soon, and later. So with pen and paper, what I want you to do is think about allocating these areas of life at where the dollar is going to go. So the first thing is to identify now. What do I need for now? Beyond housing and gas and food and things like that, I want to make sure I can get my nails done, make sure I can fit in a golf game every month. Those things that you're doing right now, what needs to be in there? And then identify for soon some specific goals that you have. And I mentioned earlier, maybe it's replacing a vehicle in the next year or two. Maybe it's getting into a new home or getting into a home for the first time, a big anniversary trip, a birthday celebration, something you're going to need money for that's more of a goal. And then long term, identify now, soon, later. Later, what am I going to need? And start thinking, if you haven't yet, if you're a young person, maybe you haven't started thinking about where the money's going to come from for retirement time because you're in building mode or you're trying to, deal with your family right now. But think about later, if I need to have $2,000 a month or $20,000 a month or $200,000 a month, what would I like to have for my later goal? So you got now, soon, and later. And your challenge is to identify some of those. Ready, go.
Oh, awesome. Okay, for folks, you've heard the challenge. So we want to hear from you guys. Put it on the chat. Share some of your comments with us on that as well, too. And so if you're just joining us, we have reached the end of our show, but never fear, because you can always watch the replay. Make sure you watch from the beginning. Share it out as well, too. Judy, I want to thank you again for your time and your wisdom. As always, folks, remember that we are here Tuesday mornings on Money Truth Moments with Judy Copenbarger. And again, if you're now following Judy, make sure you visit her website at judycopenbarger.com so you can get additional information, free resources, and most importantly, you can follow her as well on social media. Any last words, Judy?
Yeah, I'm just thinking about that generous conversation that we had. Find a way to put a little more generosity in your life this week, and I want to hear all about it.
Awesome. All right, take care. Have a great day. Thanks for joining us, folks. Until next Tuesday.
Bye-bye.